First thing I have to say is Iron Maiden is probably the most important band to me. They have been my favorite band since about 1988 when Seventh Son of a Seventh Son came out. So I was quite tickled pink when I learned that Senjutsu was going to be released. And does it live up to expectations? I think it does, but come back and we'll dive deeper. Clocking in at almost 82 minutes and containing 10 tracks, Senjutsu is Iron Maiden's tightest album in years, with a glut of high points and very little to pick at. Again, it's a double album, much like Book of Souls was. Talking a little bit about the Book of Souls, when the dust had settled on it, at first I felt it was a tad longer than it needed to be. I still agree with that, but over the years I've kind of just come to accept that it's a longer album. And when I saw the running time of the new album, I was a little apprehensive in Senjutsu as a record that absolutely delivers, not a second wasted. There's not any fat on this album to trim off at all. Senjutsu, the title track, opens the record, and it's a Smith Harrison composition that is a moody, atmospheric, and sees Nickel McBrain taking center stage on the drums. Something I think he does throughout on this album very well. Bruce Dickinson sounds like he has fire in his belly, and you can feel every word he sings with so much conviction. This is a chest-beating Iron Maiden of the highest order, and it only takes a couple minutes to get there. It seems that the tone is perfectly, and there's lots of treats for us in store. After the title track, we have a song called Stratego, and this was also released as a second single from the album. This has got your classic galloping feel, which allows Steve Marrison's unique bass sound to come through. You know, throughout the album, there aren't too many big, huge chorus moments, but Stratego probably has to be the biggest. It's a rousing song that is undeniably Maiden, and along with Yannick Gears, they seem to keep this song at under 5 minutes. The Stratego remains Maiden's identity. The writing on the wall sees the band stepping out in a more unfamiliar territory. Now, the writing on the wall, of course, was the first song that we were introduced to a couple months back. It's a Cajun-influenced opening, and it kind of sets the scene for a piece recounting Belshazzar's fest. As the song kicks into life, there's a real folk feel, and it harkens back to Fairport Convention's Matty Grooves in some respect. Lower in the mix is a little bit of mandolin as part of the tapestry. As a lead single, this is both a bold choice, but Iron Maiden have been not afraid to being so bold. Plus, it showed just how good the band sounded and how much they missed when they're not around. Following, we have a song called Days of Future Past, and this is the shortest album on Senjutsu. It's about 4 minutes in length. The solos are massive, and again, the vocals are great. This could have been a staple of Maiden's live set, and maybe it will be, but the quieter moment in the middle could give Bruce a chance to interact with the crowd, much he likes to use to do in the For Here to Eternity in 1992-93. The Time Machine is the next song, and this borrows a little bit from the opening of The Talisman from the 2010's The Final Frontier. Whilst using the aforementioned style of opening, Iron Maiden do not lazily lift as the song progresses. Before the playful jig-like melody, there's a little breakdown that harkens back to the early 80s. It's a song that looks back as much as it appears to look into the future, but in what a wonderful juxtaposition. Now, in all of Iron Maiden's time as a band, they never completely have gone for a ballad. Infinite Dreams nearly went there, and Wasting Love still got a little bit heavy towards it. Jeremy Mann from Dance of Death brought the acoustic guitars, and Coming Home from The Final Frontier was arousing, but it was Maiden's more mellow output is concerned. On Senjutsu, we get The Darkest Hour, a title that Adrian Smith conceived and slots into the bracket with Maiden's previous balladry. This is a Led Zeppelin feel to the song, and ambient sounds of waves lapping the shore conjure up images of World War II. The song recalls the actions of Winston Churchill, someone who has history with the band. You know, go back to Live After Death, Flight 66, Nights of the Dead. You always get that Churchill speech intro course, right at the beginning of Aces High. Now, as anyone who knows anything about Iron Maiden will know that the band's leader, of course, is Steve Harris. On Senjutsu, Steve Harris has 4 solo composition credits to him. In total, this accounts for over half the album's runtime. Lost in a Lost World uses playful vocal wizardry in its trippy opening, and Death of the Celts evokes Sounds of the Klansman from the 1988 much maligned Virtua 11 album. However, the piece of resistance on Senjutsu in the form of the closing 2 tracks, The Parchment and Hell on Earth. The Parchment is the longest track on Senjutsu, just over 12 minutes. It harkens back to 1995 X Factor in its style. There are moments when you feel that Blaze Bayley could have sung this album, but the way Bruce Dickinson gradually builds his vocal power and strength throughout is something to amaze. That is one thing that I agree with. Blaze was not a bad singer, but he didn't have that power to keep raising his voice. The final, I think Bruce has never sounded better, to be honest with you, on an Iron Maiden album, and he really shows it in these 2 songs. In the next track, Hell on Earth, which is my personal favorite on the album, Iron Maiden this has got to be their best closer of a song since, I'm going to go say, back to Somewhere in Time. There's a venom in the vocals, and again, Steve Harrison will have you conjuring up images in your mind for days. It's lyrically dark and musically devastating. It's also one of the finest songs to come from the pen of Steve Harris. It enters the Hall of Fame with other greats such as Rime of the Ancient Mariner, Hallowed Be Thy Name, Alexander the Great, Seventh Son of the Seventh Son, The Red and the Black from the Book of Souls, and Sign of the Cross. It goes without saying that Iron Maiden's holy trio of guitarists, which is Dave Murray, Adrian Smith, and Yannick Gears, are on fire throughout this album. Their soloings never fail to amaze, and the rhythms they keep alongside Steve Harris and Nico McBrain consistently excites. It's right on the impossible to pick out the best parts of each song, but they all add a unique flavor to their respective musical dishes. Iron Maiden are truly a band for their ages. My little bit of apprehension around their running times evaporated as Senjutsu washed over me with all of its pomp and circumstances. It will take its place in the top-ranked Iron Maiden albums of all time. It is really that good, guys. And there isn't a climbing monkey in the sight. And that's just a kind of a pun back to a song off the Book of Souls, which I don't really care for. Thankfully, Iron Maiden have dodged cringeworthy lyrics and taken the shade of a little darker. Senjutsu is a triumph and only adds to defying dynasty. As their 17th studio album, this could be their last, so I'm hoping and praying that it's not, because I think they have a lot more to offer. But as a final rating, I give this album 4 out of 5 stars, and I highly recommend it. Thanks, guys. See each other soon. Good night.